Hey everyone, Dr. Frunke here with a bit of a different final diagnosis for you today. Instead of reviewing a knife, I'm going to be reviewing a pocket clip. What you can see in front of you are 3 Chris Reeve knives in Cosies. I wanted to go ahead and thank my buddy Taylor for allowing me to borrow these 2 in Cosies. All of these knives are sporting a different pocket clip than the standard production pocket clip. What you see right here is the standard bent titanium clip that came standard on my Chris Reeve in Cosi. It is just a flat piece of titanium that has been bent, and it works beautifully. Honestly, this is one of the best pocket clips in the industry. I would liken it to Spyderco in terms of its excellent functionality. But it is a little bit boring looking. The Sebenzas and the Incosies, especially some of the fancier ones, start to look a bit more beautiful, and then this bent titanium clip can look a bit bland on those knives. And so for those of us who are crazy enough to spend ridiculous amounts of money for our knives and adding to them, and people who like to customize their knives, and you know that I do, have the option of going to Millit Knives, and this is their logo right here. Millit Knives is a company out of North Carolina. I'm sure most of you are familiar with them. They do a lot of mid-tech knives, and they have been producing these milled Chris Reeve Knives titanium clips for a little over a year now. And what you can see just from the raw clip itself is that it is beautifully 3D machined. This is not a bent clip, so you can see that it's milled there. They've done a beautiful job of milling it on the inside right here and on the top right here. This is their standard clip, and I want to say this runs somewhere around $45 or something like that. So it is not a cheap piece of titanium that you're purchasing here. And Chris Reeve knives are already rather expensive, so you're going to just be adding more value to the knife, or at least adding more money to the knife, perhaps not value. But so that is something to think about. And as you sort of upgrade the clips, and we'll get into that, you're going to be spending more and more money. So the standard clip on a standard Sebenza or Incosi looks quite nice. It fits with the overall sort of look of the knife. They've matched the bead blast almost exactly, and they've done a really good job. You would never know that this knife wasn't from the factory unless you are a knife nut like myself. It really fits in beautifully with the overall look of the knife. That milling down the middle of it just adds a little touch of flair to it, and it just looks like it's supposed to be on the knife. They did a very good job. It works with the stock hardware, and it is just really, really awesome in terms of the looks. When you start to spend a little bit more money, you can add things like inlays. So if you have a knife like my full-size Incosi here with these black canvas micarta inlays, they make certain models that have inlays, and this one actually has the black canvas micarta that perfectly matches the handle. And in my opinion, it makes this knife look that much better. This, like I was mentioning before, as you get into these sort of fancier Sebenzas and things, this clip is a bit boring and a bit plain looking, but when you add this clip to it, it really takes it to that next level. It's a very quick and very easy installation, and it just takes the knife to 11, and so I really, really like that a lot. Now, I have a couple more clips that are not on screen right now, but you can even get into more fancy options. Here is a fully milled clip with blue anodization and then a satin polished flat. And then if you really want to go crazy, you can go all the way up to this beautiful full Timascus build. This is a stunning piece of Timascus. This belongs to my good buddy Nico at today's Grail _ tomorrow's beater, and they have just made this spectacularly beautiful. Now, I don't know of any Chris Reeve knives that have Timascus on them, but if you were to add this to a plain Incosi or Sebenza, matching it with that blue on the thumb stud will make an absolutely stellar piece. So these clips are, as I've indicated, absolutely beautiful, and I think that's the main benefit of buying these things. I will say functionally, you don't get quite the same amount of ease of use as the standard pocket clip. when this knife is, when you try to put this in the pocket, it only has a small amount of ramp at the front, and honestly, it's not very aggressive. And so I find myself, honestly, on this flat one, you can almost slide it into the pocket, but you do benefit from lifting just a little bit. Now, when I mentioned to my good buddy Tavarish Works that I lift some of my pocket clips, I think he almost had a stroke because he's never heard of that before. I'm interested to know how many of you guys have to lift up on your pocket clips when you do this, because you definitely do have to do that with these clips, especially when you get into these inlaid things. What you'll notice is that the inlay actually is going to be blocking the angle of attack a little bit for sliding this into the pocket. And so with my Inkosi, I find myself lifting the clip. Just a hint of lift and this thing goes into the pocket quite easily. The retention strength is excellent, so I'm not worried about it coming out of the pocket at all. But you lose a small amount of that functionality. Nick Shabazz did a video on this as it pertained to his tie lock knife, so definitely go and check that video out as well for another reference point on this. But these definitely provide an aesthetic benefit, but they lose a small amount of functionality. So someone was asking me online what I thought of the knives. You know, if this is a perfect 10 in terms of functionality, I would give these an 8 in terms of functionality. They work perfectly in terms of keeping it in your pocket, but there is that little bit of loss of functionality. But I will say that in terms of looks, if this was a 10, these look like a 12. And so it really just evens out in my mind that I'm willing to sacrifice that small amount of functionality for what is a much more beautiful looking clip. Particularly on my canvas micarta Inkosi right here, it really just takes it to that next level. Another thing that with regards to the functionality where there's actually a benefit is on this knife right here, where the canvas micarta on the clip is very functional and very comfortable in the hand. It provides a little bit more grip on there and it makes for a nice grip experience. Moreover, this little bit of micarta that protrudes out from the actual clip will prevent some snail trails from forming on there. So if I bump the clip against something, it's not going to form a snail trail. It's just going to bump the micarta, and that with a little bit of oil usually just rubs right out. So I really, really like the benefit of the aesthetics on here, and I'm willing to sacrifice that. So what is my final diagnosis on these clips? Well, it is small sacrifice, but substantially sweeter. So I really, really enjoy having that clip on there. I really recommend these to anybody. There are a few other people that are making some 3D milled clips. My good buddy Adam Purvis has done a small few of them in Timascus, but these are usually readily available. They're not for sale on the site. If you really want one, you can send a message over to Millit Knives, either an email or a direct message on Instagram, and maybe they can find one for you or get a new batch going. They release them periodically in different builds. If you have one of these special edition Sebenzas or Inkosis with these inlays, they make all the different inlays. They do the different canvas micartas. I've seen one in Mammoth. They do them in lots of different things. So the way that I recommend following this is to find them on Instagram and follow them on Instagram. That's generally where they say they're going to release these things. And then you can talk to them and get one. So I'm a big fan. I intend to keep my clip on my Inkosi and use it all the time. Let me know what you guys think down below. How many of you guys have gotten one of these clips? I'm sure a bunch of you have. Leave some comments down below about your experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, and let's have a conversation about them. They're expensive, but they're beautiful. They lose a little bit of function, but they work fine once you get used to them. So I'm going to strongly recommend them, especially on these more beautiful looking knives. It really augments the knife and takes it to that next level of beauty. So thank you guys for watching. Leave some comments down below. Click like and subscribe to my channel here. Follow me on Instagram at Dr. Frunky. Follow these guys at Millit Knives. And as always, y'all, take care.